Good morning, everyone. It is time for our News to You, our science and social studies. This week, we are looking and reading about Greta Thunberg. So it is getting closer and closer to Earth Day. Greta Thunberg is when she first came into the public's eye, she was 17 years old, and she wanted to help kind of stop climate change. And so today we're going to read about some of the different things that she has done at 17 years old. Many people want to protect Earth. Many people celebrate protecting Earth on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. One person who wants to protect Earth is Greta Thunberg. Greta is a 17-year-old girl who was born in Sweden. Greta has Asperger's syndrome, which is a kind of autism. People with autism think differently. They find some things easier to do, but other things harder to do. Greta says Asperger's syndrome is like her superpower. It helps her think differently. It helps her think about things that are important to her. So she does have Asperger's syndrome, which is a kind of autism, but she doesn't think that her Asperger's syndrome hurts her. She thinks that it helps her. It's her superpower. So that's just a different way of thinking. So here's Greta at a protest where she's protesting, trying to get people to listen to clean up the environment. So one thing that is very important to Greta is stopping climate change. Climate is the typical weather in a place. Many people think the climate is changing, which could be dangerous for Earth. Changes in climate may cause floods, storms, wildfires, and more. Greta first learned about climate change when she was 8 years old. Greta started making changes in her life she thought would help Earth. She wanted to encourage government leaders to make changes too. She started protests in front of government buildings. During her first protest, she was alone. Then people started to join her. Remember, she's from Sweden. It's very cold up in Sweden, especially during the winter time. So she's protesting and it looks kind of cold. You see this girl wearing a hat and a heavy jacket. This looks like a rain jacket. So she is still protesting in Sweden. These words are Swedish. But even in Sweden, you see other people writing in English. Cool kids saving a hot planet. Change politics, not the climate. Time is running out. Greta became famous for leading protests. She inspired other students around the world to protest too. She called these protests Fridays for Future. At the protests, students gave speeches and held signs that encouraged leaders to learn more about climate change. They encouraged leaders to learn about stopping climate change. Students in countries around the world participated in these protests. Greta started meeting with leaders too. She meets with leaders to talk about climate change and what countries and people can do to help stop climate change and protect Earth. So, leaders are people who can make laws that will help the environment. So here's Greta meeting with different leaders. This looks like she's at the United Nations. Greta gives speeches at important meetings. She gave speeches in front of government leaders in Italy, France, and the US. During her speeches, Greta asks leaders to pass laws that protect Earth. She talks about ideas she has to protect Earth. She thinks everyone can help. She asks people not to fly on planes because planes make pollution that can hurt Earth. Greta is brave and meets with many adult leaders to talk about something important to her. Protecting Earth is important to Greta Thunberg. Why is protecting Earth important? Well, why is it important? It's the only one we have. And right now, we can't go find another planet to live on. We're stuck living on this one, even if we destroy it with pollution. And so it's important to try to stop climate change before it gets impossible to stop.